Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ISCL's Power Hour, Episode 4, our Power BI series, where we are introducing an short tutorial on Power BI for the general audience from the beginner level to the expert level. Our topic for today is understanding table relationships in Power BI. My name is Fazil, and my co-host is Ryan. Ryan, you want to introduce yourself? Hello, Ryan.
Hey, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Ryan. I co-host today with Fuzzle, and today we will be discussing relationships within Power BI.
All right, cool. So relationships in Power BI, Ryan. I guess this is something that we kind of use every day when working with data. You want to explain some of the uses or why it's so important?
Yeah, sure. So when we working with data, usually the data is you have two ways to go about it. You can either have one big table with endless rows and columns representing everything you have to analyze, or you could do it where you have your data set up in different tables, and then you'll use the relationships to sort of dictate how the tables would interact with each other. And the reason why you would use these relationships as opposed to just having one big table is that as your data grows, it will become slow and efficient, and it's not sustainable to have one giant table. And that's why we would usually move towards having different tables and using the relationships to control the interactions.
All right. I'm glad that you point that out. So, if we take a look at the first data set that we're going to work with today, you can see it's the same superstore data set that we've been working with for the previous episodes. So it's a fictional store that sells certain items. They have customers, they sell in different regions, etc. Right. So as you can see, this order table is one big table with all the data. This is what Ryan was talking about, that in some organizations, there's data in different formats on varying sizes. So this table has a big amount of information, as you can see, many columns. And this is what Ryan was speaking about. And this might not always be the most optimal way to model your data, because as this list grows or if more columns are added, the system becomes slow, the efficiency decreases, that sort of thing. Right. So now, Ryan, as we show in this data set in Excel, I guess you could probably explain to those who might be familiar that table relationships kind of work like a VLOOKUP in Excel, right?
Yeah, the the intuition and the logic, well, more the intuition really from the VLOOKUPs from Excel would be, when you have information in one sheet and information in another sheet, and you want to match the information, the intuition for that VLOOKUP, it's somewhat similar for the intuition required for relationships. The only difference really would be that in VLOOKUPs, you could match based on multiple columns from one table to the other, whereas in relationships, especially within Power BI, you are fixed to one column per table to manage that relationship. But once you have the intuition of the VLOOKUP, or even I know some people like index match as well, the intuition, once you grasp that, it follows into the relationships.
All right. Very good. Okay, so exactly what Ryan said is what we're trying to demonstrate today. So we have this big orders table, and then we have this salesperson table. So it's just trying to map a person and a region, right? So we're trying to link this table with our orders table, and we're going to try to do that in Power BI and show you guys how to use table relationships to do that. Yeah. So I guess, Ryan, we could jump straight into the Power BI demo.
Yep, sounds great.
All right. So I have a Power BI file, a blank Power BI file where I have already imported my data set. So I have my two tables, the orders table and the salesperson table. We could take a look at the data view on the left hand side, so we could actually see that it is the same data set. Right, so we have our orders and we have our salesperson. Now, right, so a demonstration of this is, let's say we wanted to filter these orders. So let's say we wanted to see sales by salesperson. Right, so in that case, the fact we would be reporting on is sales from the orders table, and we would try filtering by salesperson that exists in the salesperson table. So let's try that in Power BI. Let's do a simple horizontal bar graph. Right, so we have this chart here and our value. So we're trying to report on sales. So let's pull that into the values field. And we're trying to break that down by salesperson. So our axis is going to be salesperson. Right. Right. And this is an excellent demonstration of what your data would look like without table relationships. So I'm just going to turn on data labels so you could see that better.
Or maybe everyone's a top performer.
It could be that, but we will see. We will test it by implementing a table relationship and seeing what it actually is. And if it is actually this, then kudos to everyone. Alright, so here we could see that everyone has the same exact total, which is the entire sales total. I could show you this by if we pull in a card value. Let's just pull this in for reference. And let's pull the sales value here. Right, so 2.3 million in sales. We could see that is the same value for all our salesperson. So we know that it is inaccurate. Right. So how do we go about fixing this? Now I'm going to show you an efficient method before we actually take a look at the table relationships. So that method would be, so we go to transform data. So click on the drop down, transform data. Our Power Query editor window opens. All right, so we have our two tables, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a merge, which is essentially you will be adding a column to the orders table. So wherever, because what we're matching is the region is linked to the salesperson, right? So if we were to match the region column of the orders table, and everywhere there's a match for the corresponding item, it will pull in the corresponding salesperson. Yeah, is that confusing, Ryan? Did I explain that as best as possible?
Yeah, you explained that pretty well.
All right, I guess let's continue with the demo and they will see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay.
For the Excel junkies, we're gonna do the index, the VLOOKUP.
All right, yeah, definitely. All right, so basically what we want to do is find our region column, highlight it. So just click on it, and then you will see on top here, merge queries. Just for demo purposes, we're going to do merge queries as new. And we're going to give that a second to load. All right, it's up. Right, so we're matching from the orders table, and the column we're interested in is the region, and we're matching on the salesperson table, right? And we're matching on region. And the type of join we want to do, we could stick with the left outer join. We could see here that the selection matches all of the rows from our orders table, so we know that the data doesn't really change. We have all the records, right? And we can click OK. Right, so we have this new table called merge one. We could rename that if we were going to continue using it, but this is just for demo purposes. So this is an exact replication of the orders table, except we have done a merge. So if we go to the last column, you will see this new column here, salesperson, that the merge is trying to reference in the salesperson table. If we just click on this expand button, we can actually select what we want this column to be. So in the salesperson table, we have two columns, the person and the region. Since the orders table already have the region, we just want to match to the salesperson. So if we select person and click OK, boom. Yeah, what do you think, Ryan? Simple?
Looks simple, but like we said, not very efficient because we're already on how much columns by now? More than 30, I believe.
Yeah, it's a lot of columns. So yeah, so adding columns and repeating these strings are not very efficient. So we're gonna show you that this works, and then we will do the table relationship. So let me click close and apply. And I'm going to open a new page once this loads. Aha.
Oh, yeah, it would always move slow when someone's watching you.
Yeah, okay, so it created some automatic relationships for us, but we don't want you guys to see this yet. So let's just delete these. This is what we'll be showing you how to create. Power BI tries to do it for you automatically. We'll show you that as well later on in the video. All right, so I'm just going to open a new page. And we're going to add a horizontal bar chart again. This time, instead of using the orders table or the salesperson table, we're going to use our new merge table. And we're going to pull in sales from to the value field. And we're going to pull in salesperson to the axis. Boom. Right, so the merge does work, but like we said a couple of times now, it's really inefficient, especially if the salesperson table is going to grow, if you're going to expand to more regions, and as the number of columns grows on that order table. So really inefficient, right? So we're going to go back to the first page now. And now we're going to show you how we could create a relationship between the orders table and the salesperson table and achieve the same result. Right? Ryan, you have anything to interject at the moment?
No, it all looks fine, but I think it probably might be worth mentioning that as we're going to get into the relationships now, for people who are familiar with SQL and stuff like that, it's sort of like the foreign key relations, but if you're already familiar with that kind of stuff.
Exactly. But I guess we will try to keep it as basic as possible. Try not to complicate it too much. We will have more videos in the future where we will go into more of the intermediate concepts. Yeah, and that will be exciting. But first, we need to understand the basics, right?
Yeah. Have to walk before you run.
Yeah. All right. So to show you guys this, so as you know, we have 3 tabs on the left-hand side of the Power BI interface: the report view, which we are currently on, the data view, where you can see your tables and peruse the data in those tables, and the last one is the model view. The model view gives you this kind of block diagram of your tables, and here you can create your relationships and sort of build a data model. All right, we will teach you guys some practices or types of data models eventually. For this purposes, we're just going to do simple relationships. All right, so this merge one table, we're going to ignore that. That was just for the demo for the merge. The 2 tables that we're only interested in is the orders table and the salesperson table. And how do we create a relationship? So there's a drag and drop method that you could use, really simple. Or if you're very, I wouldn't say technical, but what's the word? A neat person, or if you have a huge list of relationships, like a huge data model, and you need some kind of structured way of adding relationships, you can use this button at the top, manage relationships. It brings up this cool window, manage relationships. So there's a column to show whether the relationship is active or not, and a from and to column. So let me show you how to create a relationship using this window. So we could do auto detect. So as a feature that is built into Power BI, if you label your columns in your various tables to match, Power BI will actually detect that and try to link the tables automatically. It's sometimes a double-edged sword, because sometimes it might do it 100% accurate and it's really cool, but sometimes it will detect relationships that you did not intend for it to detect, and it might give some errors when you're trying to report on your data. So I think it's always a good idea to add them manually. Yeah, that's just my take on it. Ryan, what's your take on it?
I would agree with you. Even though Power BI, it loves to, help us and try to do certain things automatically, these relationships are definitely one of the things that you want to focus on and try to do it yourself as opposed to letting Power BI handle it for you. It's always good to understand your data so that way when you do your reporting, you will know exactly how the reports and the visuals would interact and behave with one another.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right, guys. We're getting some rain on my side, so I do apologize if you hear some noise in the background. Um, all right. So okay. So we're gonna add this relationship. So we click on new, and then we have an option to select the table. So we want to link the orders table. So select that, and we want to link it to the salesperson table. So very similar to how we did the merge, right? So you select the two tables that you're trying to link, and then you select the common column to both. So we see it auto-detected region. It tried to match it. It's kind of highlighted. So region to region. And then we have some additional options at the bottom. So the first one is the cardinality, and we will just discuss briefly what those are. So those of you who might remember secondary school maths, you might remember function mapping. So we have a few of them. So many to one to one to many, and many to many. Now, for our purposes and the general audience that I would say that uses Power BI, you might only use many to one and one to one. The other two, maybe one to many, but definitely many to many is rarely used. And I would let Ryan touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so many to many is, I mean, it's there for you to use it, but in reality, its use is a bit more niche than the other options. The use of many to many is for composite data models, which would include not just multiple tables, but multiple data sources. So, you have some stuff coming in from SQL, you have some stuff coming in from Excel, maybe an API. So, those more convoluted models is where you will use the many to many relationship. Now, in that scenario as well, many to many would remove some of the restrictions around that, some of the restrictions that is required for the other cardinalities. So it might sound simpler, but in reality, it's not. It's for very niche data models. So it's, yeah, for now, and to keep it simple, that's, as much as you probably need to know right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that limitation that you mentioned that many could remove, we'll touch on that in a little bit, right? I know where you're heading with that. All right, so we link in region and the cross filter direction. Again, for most uses, would be single. If you model your data properly, which we will be teaching you guys how to. In some cases, you might need to have it on both directions, but in my experience, I don't know about you, Ryan, but sometimes with both, I end up with some inactive relationships, errors in the model.
Yeah, same here. That's why,
I,
single is usually the safe. It's not just the safer option, it's just that when you construct in data models, and you might hear us mention something called star schema. But in general, once you construct in data models, according to how we would teach you how a single is usually the ideal option of the two.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and click OK here. And you'll see your relationship has been created and the checkbox for active has been ticked. So we can click close. And you can see Power BI has created a many-to-one relationship between my two tables, orders and salesperson. How do we know it's many-to-one? You would see the star symbol leading into the orders table and a 1 at the salesperson table and the arrow to indicate the cross-filter direction. Right, so this indicates that salesperson would filter the information in the orders table. And if we go back to the report view, you can see that our graph has automatically detected and applied the relationship between the two tables, orders, and salesperson to our dataset. And we can see that the exact proportions of sales value has been categorized by salesperson. Yep. Any questions or comments in the chat? Feel free to type your questions or comments on the chat. Anything you guys didn't understand, we'll try to explain it a bit better, or something you might want to learn more about, let us know. Right? So I'm going to go back into the model view just for your benefit and show you how to do the drag and drop method. So I'm going to delete the relationship. All right, so to delete the relationship, like I just did there, just right click on the relationship line and click delete. Really simple. So if you're ever in a pinch, you could do that. You could also delete it from the manage relationships tab. Okay, so the drag and drop method, basically, like we said before, we want to link the orders table to the salesperson table. So I look for region in my orders table and I click and drag and I hover on the region column of the salesperson table and release my click. And boom, Power BI has created my relationship. Drag and drop, guys, really simple. And you can also see that it automatically set it as a many-to-one relationship with the cross-direction filter in a single direction, that is salesperson filters the order table. Right? So as you can see, right click, you have two options, delete relationship, or you can go into properties where you can adjust the cardinality and cross filter direction if you ever needed to. Right? I think that's it. Okay, so another thing to mention, let's just go back on this manage relationships views. Let's click edit. The reason why I went to this window is I want to show you something. Alright, so Ryan, here we could see that our orders table has a list of repeated regions between west, east, central, etc., which is why the relationship is many-to-one, right? But would you say this is as efficient or how we would normally do a dimension table with a string matching to a string?
Almost never we would do that. We generally like to have to use a integer to represent, a code, and we would, have like instead of north, south, east, west, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, with one corresponding to west, so on. So that way you won't have, the repeating word region over and over. It's another more efficient way to structure the data, and it's what some people will call normalized.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look before we kind of close up today's session. I think we covered most of the topics we wanted to touch on, but we want to show you guys what I would say a good data model looks like, or how you should be trying to model your data and what those relationships could look like in Power BI. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna close this off. I'm gonna open another Power BI file. And let's give that a few seconds to load up. All right, close this off. All right, cool. So we have a blank Power BI file untitled, and I'm going to connect to one of my data sources. So if I go to recent sources and I connect to a database I have on my local machine, this is the AdventureWorks dataset by Microsoft. I believe it's available for public use, so you guys could also use that dataset to experiment with your analysis and data skills. All right, so as you can see, we have 4 tables here. We have fact sales, dim territory, dim salesperson, and dim products. The fact means that the fact we're reporting on is sales, and we can split up our data into these 3 dimensions. Now, facts and dimensions, that's something we will go more into when we start discussing data modeling in our next topic or future topic. Right, so let's import these tables into Power BI. So we click the checkbox and we click load. In this case, I want to import the data. So yes. All right. We'll give that a couple seconds to load. If you pay attention to this loading screen, so it's loading data, and if you look closely, the next step is detecting relationships. So like we said before, Power BI tries to detect the relationships automatically based on your column titles. So we're gonna take a look at what it did. Right, so we have our tables on the side here. If we go to the data view, I'll show you what that looks like. Right, so this is a very good example of what dimension table should look like. We have a product key that is an integer starting from 1, and right, so we could call this our index column, and we have, okay, this is misspelled, but it should be product name, and we have a list of products, right? Then we have dim salesperson, so we have an ID that is unique, an employee name, their sales quota, and territory. Then we have dim territory. So again, we have a key that is an integer and a unique value, the name of the territory, country code, and the territory grouping.
Uniqueness of that primary key in the dimension tables is one of the most important parts about the dimension table. If I'm not mistaken, the model would break or be unsuccessful if there's not that uniqueness.
Exactly what Ryan said. So before he said that with the many-to-many model, you could kind of overcome that limitation. So the primary rule for using table relationships is that the column that you're trying to match, the index column should be, of the table should be unique. It should be a unique value, no repeated values, right? In probably a more intermediate video, we would probably show you how you could use another table in the case where you have repeated values in your dimension table. But like I said before, if you're designing a dimension table, ideally it should not have any capacity to have a repeated value, right? Rand, what do you think?
Yeah, perfect. Couldn't say it any better.
All right, cool. So let's take a look at the data view. And this one we don't need. Right, so like we said, Power BI will try to create some relationships that we might not want. I think one of these columns I just added for test purposes. So we have our fact table, that should be the center of our data model. We have dim products, so it automatically created a many-to-one relationship between product key and product key from the facts sales table to the dim product, so that is correct. It created a many-to-one relationship between the territory key and territory key from dim territory to fact sales. Right, so I would have added this column territory key here for demonstration purposes, so that should not be there. And we want to link dim salesperson to fact sales. Now, as you can see, we have a discrepancy in the matching column. So salesperson key ideally should be matched to business entity ID, because if we look at the business entity salesperson table, the identifying column is called business entity ID. So just something to be aware of. If we create a relationship salesperson key to business entity ID,
And it really goes to show, how important it is for you to understand your data, what's in those tables when you want to be getting involved with Power BI.
yeah, and as you can see, this is a simple data model. The formation of what is looking like a star schema model, which we would get more into in another video. Some proper data modeling and different data model types. Right, so just wanted to show you guys this, and If you don't like the feature where Power BI tries to auto-detect the table relationships for you, probably it might give you some more work because you have to go and see which relationships are wrong, or you might have to delete all and recreate the ones that you want alone. So it's simple, just go into File, go into Options and Settings, go into Options. Right. So once we are in Options, we want to go to Data Load, I believe. Yes. And here you could see type detection. So we have automatically detect column types and headers. Aha. So under the relationships subcategory here of detection, it has import relationships from data sources on first load. So you could remove it there, or it also has the option to update or delete relationships when refreshing data. And this is the one that we're probably most interested in, auto detect new relationships after data is loaded. So you could simply just uncheck the checkboxes and click OK. And whenever you proceed to import some data or where I shouldn't interfere and try to detect the relationships for you. But like we said before, if you label your fact and dimension tables columns accurately enough, you shouldn't have a problem with the auto detect feature. So it's a personal preference, and you guys can take it from there. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on the page. We will be posting this session to our YouTube channel, and it will be added to our Power Hour playlist series, so you could take a look at the previous videos we have done if you are just getting started with Power BI. We have a complete beginner guide, and we're starting with beginner topics and slowly increasing the intricacy and difficulty as we progress. Right. So yes, any suggestions on how we could improve the stream as well, please let us know. Or another thing we'll be looking at is maybe doing a poll to see when you guys prefer the stream to be at. So we'll probably be running a poll on social media to find out when is the best day and time for you guys to tune in, because it would be really beneficial if you guys could watch live and ask questions and we could give feedback in real time, right? So maximum benefit. Ryan, any comments?
Yeah, just that this whole series is about helping people and increasing exposure to Power BI. So you know in this whole sharing knowledge thing, it's all about your feedback on how we can be better, as well as as time goes on, we'll kind of be increasing the difficulty and the complexity of the topics. So how you all enjoy it, that's gonna factor in to our rate and as well as future topics.
All right, cool. So I believe the poll is available on our social media. So please check us out on our Facebook page, our LinkedIn. Please follow us on the YouTube, like and subscribe, share this video with your colleagues. If it's beneficial to you guys, spread the knowledge, share it to your friends and family. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. Whether you watch this live with us today or if you're viewing this sometime in the future, thank you for participating and watching this with us. Please leave a like if this was helpful. Um, we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.
All right, take care.